Good morning, all my dear students. How are you? I hope you are safe and fine at your home. So I would like to welcome you in our physical education class, and I welcome you in part 5 of the chapter Physical Fitness, Wellness and Lifestyle. Dear students, so now focus here. What we are going to learn today? Today we are going to learn about endurance. So before we are going to start, I will definitely ask you some questions as usual I ask before going to start some topic, right? So today's our topic is endurance. Got it, students? So I am talking about endurance. Now the question comes, what is this endurance? So this endurance is something which is related with long duration workout, right? So I'll be just asking you a few questions. My first question is, have you ever run for a long distance? Have you ever participated in marathon? Have you ever participated in cyclotron? Have you run for 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers or something else? Have you climbed the mountain, sometime? So if you climb or if you do out of all this activity, if you've done any of the activity, then I can think that you have that particular potential, you have that much amount of endurance that will able to resist fatigue, and somehow you will be physically fit, because if you are doing some extensive workout to move, running 5 kilometers, participating in marathon, participating in cyclotron, which lead your life to be healthier, happier and physically fit, mentally alert, emotionally balanced, socially interactive. So now what the point that I'm telling you about endurance, right? So what is endurance? See, whenever we do a long term work, like run for 5 to 10 kilometers or run for 2 kilometers or do a cyclotron for kilometers, do some climbing on the mountains, go at the top, then come back. So what it required some endurance in your body, right? What it required? It required some kind of endurance. That is, what is endurance? When you climb to that mountain or when you are running for kilometers, there will your muscles have that ability to overcome or to resist fatigue, right? The deposition of lactic acid, avoid the deposition of lactic acid, and it gives that potential to your muscles so that you can climb the mountain very easily. You can run very easily for the kilometers. You can pedal your cycling, very easily for so many kilometers, right? So what I want to tell you, I would just like to tell you that what is endurance today. So our today's topic is endurance. What is our today's topic? Our today's topic is endurance. So now, what is endurance? Endurance is the ability to sustain or continue the activity. Now what I want to say here, see, if I am saying it's the ability to sustain or continue with the activity, right? Or to do activity, continue activity. Let's say in board exam, there is a 3 hours question paper, right? And you will have only think and write, right? Got it? If you are appearing in JEE, if you are in NEET exam, so what you are thinking, there will be a whole lot of MCQs. You are solving the MCQs, then you are taking marking, and you are, for continuous period of time, you fill up that circles in the OMR sheet, right? So that is also something, to sustain or to continue activity. You can take an example of the people who are living in the field, right? So let's say they are now time for the harvesting the crops. Okay, so what if the farmer is so poor? So the family members of the farmer will help some laborers sometime we called for cutting for the grape, chaff and so many things for the harvesting time. It's okay that nowadays harvester machine is there, threshing is there for cutting off the different crops and all these things. But if some peoples are doing work, so what will they since morning 8:30 to evening 6, they perform their duty, they sustain their work, they do continuously their work. Let's say if I talk about the peoples who are working for construction of buildings, that laborers, like unskilled laborers. So you can imagine your mind that that they pick up the bricks, then they throw it somewhere, pick up the bricks, throw it somewhere. Some of them women, some of them male, take some amount of that sand and cement, pull on their back, and they go upstairs on the buildings, they put it there, then they come back. So this continuity, see, now why I am telling you all this thing, I am just telling you all this thing to thank you that the people having that much potential in their muscles, see the potential of their muscles, see the efficiency of their muscles, how they are dealing with that, how they have that much capacity. So what is endurance? Endurance is the ability of an individual to sustain or to continue an activity. So let us suppose I am taking you 40-minute lecture and I am continue writing on the board, I am continue explaining you. So it is my ability to sustain my work. Let's say I am speaking, I am walking, so it's my ability to speak continuously and to tell you about the concept properly again, right? So what is this? If you are sustained or continue with an activity, that ability is called endurance. Always try to conceptualize, always try to make your concept to relate with the daily life activity, right? Which activity? Daily life activity. So that what can happen? So that the concept can be recapitulated properly. Got it, students? So now what's my point? My first point is it's the ability to sustain or continue an activity. In simple words, we can say it is the ability to resist fatigue. What we say? It's the ability to overcome fatigue. Now what is this fatigue? Whenever we do some extensive workout or a longer duration workout, let's take an example. Whenever you first join, we can take an example. You were supposed to go in the gym. So when you were in first day of gym, you do some exercise, or the next day you feel a whole lot of pain in your body, right? Why this pain is there? Because this deposition of lactic acid in your muscles, right? So it is the ability of an individual to resist fatigue. This point you need to keep in your mind, right? It's the ability of an individual to resist fatigue. This is the most important definition, which not only help you in 11 but as well as in 12. Okay, so the ability to resist fatigue is called endurance. It is one of the most important factor. It is one of the most important factor for middle distance runner, for long distance runner, for some of them are for long distance, say 50 kilometers, 30 kilometers, 60 kilometers, some of them go to the 100 kilometers, So it is one of the most important component for the middle and the long distance races. So if someone is going for the long distance races, 1200, 1600, 50 kilometers, 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, it will be more effective for them also. It is required in almost all games. So see, this endurance is a very important component and it is required in almost all the games. Got it, my students? So dear learners, just have a look. You are playing PUBG. Let's say you are playing PUBG. So when your player is moving here and there, drop and down and so many things, he is running. So his muscle also, his or her muscle also needs some energy. Got it? In the same way, if you are playing football, if you are playing basketball, if you are playing hockey, if you are playing handball, if you are playing different games like kabaddi. So when you are playing the games, okay, let me just quickly give you an example. आप run करके आए हो, okay, you just run and come. सांस फूलने लगती है. Getting my point? तो ये सांस क्यों फूल रही है? Because you do not have that much kind of endurance in your body. आपके पास उतना amount में जो endurance होना चाहिए वो नहीं है. So क्यों नहीं है ये endurance? क्योंकि आपने उसमें workout नहीं किया, right? So if you want that much kind of endurance, you need to work accordingly, right? So start running, that will be fine. So how this endurance is measured? This endurance is measured by through the distance run and time factors, right? So what is endurance? Endurance is the ability to overcome fatigue, or endurance is the ability to resist fatigue. It is the most important component for middle distance and long distance races. It is required for all the games like football, basketball, rugby, wheelchair rugby, four-sided, even for the Divyang people it is. It is measured for distance run and time factor races. Now the points come is what are the types of endurance? So basically there are two types of endurance. How many types of endurance? It is of two types. First is short-term endurance and second is long-term endurance. What are the students? First is short-term endurance, second is long-term endurance. So endurance is of two types, short-term endurance and long-term endurance. Now come and we are going to clearly learn what is the short-term endurance, what are the another name of the short-term endurance, what is some long-term endurance, and what is the another name of long-term endurance. Getting my point what I am saying? So this short-term endurance or long-term endurance, muscular endurance. So before we going to do this, we need to think some point in our mind. And what are those points? The first thing is, what is short-term endurance? So if you are performing some activities, so if you are doing some activities for a short span of time, that is what the short-term endurance. The short-term endurance is also called anaerobic endurance. Now the points come, we need to understand what is anaerobic and what is aerobic. So when I am talking about anaerobic endurance, it means the endurance in which anaerobic, absence of oxygen. So when you are performing some activity and the oxygen is absent in your respiration, so during the respiration, if the oxygen is lacking, it is anaerobic respiration, okay, which is called the anaerobic endurance. If there is a presence of oxygen, then we call it aerobic endurance. So short-term endurance is called anaerobic endurance because when it is a short term, you are running very fast. So let us take an example. I have two tasks for you. I just told you to there is a huge ground, a football ground you can take. So the football ground of your school, right? I say you two things. I'm giving you two tasks. My first task is you will have to take one round very fast. Got it? My second task is you will have to take 5 rounds. So when an individual performing 5 rounds, he will not be very fast. The pace will be slow. But if I say a student to run 1 round very fast, he or she will be able to run this 1 round faster, because that is what the short-term endurance. So if you are running 1 round very fast, that is the short-term endurance, which is also called anaerobic endurance, where absence of oxygen is there in respiration. These endurance is also called muscular endurance. So what we got, let me conclude today about this concept. Short-term endurance is also called anaerobic endurance. Anaerobic endurance is also called muscular endurance. And all these things, short-term, anaerobic endurance, muscular endurance, all are same. Got it? Now talk about, this is type A, first type of endurance, and this is second type of endurance. Okay, long term. So long term, it say I told you to 6 rounds or 5 rounds, 5 to 6 rounds of a football ground of a school, right? So if I told you to take a 5 to 6 round of a football ground, it means it is a long term endurance, and it is a aerobic endurance. See, when you are running 5 to 6 rounds, your pace will be slow, and if your pace is slow, then you will consume oxygen. The capacity to take or consume oxygen is more, right? So what is long term endurance? Long term endurance is an endurance in which an individual performs some activity for the longer period of time, right? So when an individual is performing some activity for the longer period of time, and it's also called a cardiovascular endurance. Now what is this cardiovascular endurance, right? So whenever the word cardio comes, it means it is related to heart. So pumping of blood, diffusion of oxygen into the blood through the lungs, respiration, is all about this cardiovascular endurance, right? So what we conclude, what we understood here that there are two types of endurance: short-term endurance, which is also called aerobic and anaerobic endurance and muscular endurance. Second type is long-term endurance. This long-term endurance is also called cardiovascular endurance and aerobic endurance. Anaerobic means absence of oxygen. Anaerobic means absence of oxygen. Aerobic means presence of oxygen. Getting my point, dear students? Now let's come. What are the different training methods to improve the endurance? How we will improve our endurance? What are the different ways so that we can improve the endurance? The first concept is continuous training method. The second method is interval training method, and the third training method is fartlek training method. What is it? It is fartlek training method. Which training method? Fartlek training method. Getting my point? See, now training method for endurance, it means how will an individual improve his or her endurance. First, that is continuous training method. See, so in continuous there are three types, and if you can see this word continuous, so this word continuous shows that any activity which sustained for a longer period of time, continuous movement. So if I talk about slow continuous training method, so you can understand it. An individual is performing some activity for a longer duration of time, but he or she is continuous, slow continuous. So let's say I am giving you an example. Let's say I am telling my student, I will make three groups in my class, A, B, C, and I told them, one of my group I told that you will have to run very slow but continuous, and you will have to take 10 rounds of the ground, right? So if I told my student, the first group, right, let's say group A, so I told my A group to take 10 rounds of the football ground, and it should be continuous but slow. Okay, so that is the first method, slow continuous training method. It is the first method, slow continuous training method. Next, if I say, I'll be telling them that fast continuous training method. So I tell them to go for 5 rounds, but it should be fast, and it should be continuous also. So my second group, that is a B group, what I told them to take 5 rounds, and that rounds will be fast. Okay, so here I told 10 rounds, slow continuous. Here I told 5 rounds, that is fast and continuous. Next, my other students, that is of group C. So what I told them to maintain variable pace, right? Sometime you will be fast, sometime you will be slow, but you will have to go for 10 rounds, right? So this is the first training method for improving the endurance. And what's the name of this training? The name of this training method is continuous training method. And there are different parts in continuous training method. Now let's see what are these parts. So first is slow continuous training method. Second is fast continuous training method. And the third one is variable continuous training method. Okay, so I hope the example of the classroom you understand this topic, right? Continuous training method. Let's come on internal or interval training method. See, not internal, it's interval. What is the basic concept of this interval training method? The basic concept of this interval training method is work out, then rest, work out, then rest. This is the principle of interval training method. What is the concept of interval training method? The concept of interval training method is work out, then take rest, then work out, then take rest, right? So what is interval training method? The interval training method is slow extensive and fast intensive. See, when I am talking about interval training method, so let me make something. Let's say I made this ground. Okay, so here I told my students to walk slow or run slow. Okay, so let's say my students are running slow here. Then I told them this, it is of 60. Okay, it is also of 60, 120, and this is of 20 meter. This is also of 20 meter, 20, 40, right? So I told my students, this is meters, right? I told my students to run 60 meters slow, then this 20 meter fast, again 60 meters slow, and this 20 meter fast. So this is the what? Interval training method. That it may be extensive, it may be intensive, it may be simple, it may be complex, it may be extensive. So what is it? I told my students to divide the training period into some fast activity, performing some movement very slow. So that is what is interval training method. I hope you understand, students, right? Now next is fartlek training method. What is it? Next is fartlek training method. So in this fartlek training method, what's happened? In fartlek training method, what an individual have to do? An individual will learn in a natural environment. Okay, so let's say if you started from your home, you started running from your home, then you go for the mountain. You started climbing down the mountain. When you climbing down the mountain, you come up. Then you running on the rock beds. Then you pass with some river. You pass it from there. Then you done the running over the road. After running, you have started jogging. After jogging, you take a we can say we can call it a slow run, fast run, slow run. So that is what exactly the fartlek training method is. Getting my point? Now let's come. We are going to recapitulate. What is endurance? Endurance is the ability to sustain or continue an activity. It is the ability to resist fatigue. It is one of the most important components in middle distance runner or a long distance runner, right? It is required in almost all the games like football, basketball, rugby, handball, etc. It is measured by distance run or some long duration activities or factor races like 10 consuming factors. It is of two types: slow term, short term, right? Short term endurance and long term endurance. Short term endurance is also called aerobic endurance. It is also called muscular endurance. So these three terms are for short term endurance. When I am talking about long term endurance, so this long term endurance is also called cardiovascular endurance. It means it is related to heart, and it is also called aerobic endurance. The meaning of anaerobic is absence of oxygen. Aerobic means presence of oxygen, right? Now next thing is, what are the different methods to improve the endurance? So there are three methods basically: continuous, interval, and fartlek. When I am telling you about continuous, so continuous can be slow continuous, can be fast continuous, can be variable continuous, right? And this is interval training method. So an individual divides his or her work in interval, sometimes slow, sometimes fast. Fartlek training method is a kind of training method in which an individual performs different kinds of movements in a natural environment. Sometimes jogging, sometimes running, sometimes rock climbing, sometimes mountain climbing, then riverbed. So total here environment, that is the natural environment. So here what's the disadvantage of this? The natural track is missing in fartlek training method. But if someone wants to build something, someone wants to improve the endurance of the body, one should go for this fartlek training method, right? So we can maintain our pace on the ground if we have that important amount of endurance. So I hope you understand the topic endurance, the different types of endurance, and different kinds of what are the different kinds of training method which leads one into the prosperity. I can say one lead to improve the endurance, because endurance is the most important component in individual's life. I hope you understand this topic. So let's come and understand the next topic. Now we are going to learn about the types of endurance. So now let's come and see What are the kinds of endurance? So as I told you earlier that endurance are of two types. What are it? Endurance are of two types. That is the short-term endurance, and long-term endurance. Yes, students. So now, what is the point you need to keep in your mind? See, endurance are of two types: short-term and long-term. Now, with the name, I think you will be able to understand what is the meaning of short-term, what is the meaning of long-term, right? So, if I am saying short-term means this is for a short period of time. The duration of this activity is for short period of time, right? Term endurance, that is these component of endurance is helpful to perform activity in longer duration with faster speed. Okay, so longer duration and for the fastest speed, right? And if you see the long term endurance, these endurance helps when the activity is for longer duration, right? And the intensity of the speed is slow, and here the intensity of the speed is fast, right? So endurance is related. What is endurance? I earlier told you. Endurance is related to the activity for the longer duration, right? Now here's two types: short term and long term, right? So in short term duration, the components of the endurance will help to perform the activity within a quick speed. So when you perform any task, any workout at a speed, right, 50-meter dash, we can take an example. So it's become like the short-term endurance. It is an aerobic. What is the meaning of anaerobic? See, anaerobic respiration, it means absence of oxygen, right? So anaerobic means absence of oxygen, right? So whenever while performing any activity, there is the absence of oxygen, it means it is anaerobic. How will you know this? When you see this N, you will be able to understand anaerobic, it means oxygen is not there, so it becomes anaerobic respiration. When the intensity or the speed is very fast, right? So let's say I am giving you one talent. There is it's your sports lecture, right? And in your sports lecture, if your PGT or physical education teacher, if PET teacher assign you to go for 5 rounds of the ground in a quickest possible time, go for 5 rounds in very fast manner, right? So then the intensity of the speed of your work, the intensity of the speed in which you are running become very fast. So that will be the short term endurance, because that 5 needs to be covered, that 5 rounds you are going to cover in a short period of time, right? It might take 3 minutes, it might take 2 minutes, sometimes it might take 5 minutes for 1 minute for each round, right? So what you need to understand is the short term endurance, the speed of while performing an activity is very fast. So the speed is very fast, it is anaerobic, so absence of oxygen. When intensity of work and speed is very fast, these endurance is for short duration. These endurance is for short duration. These endurance is for short duration. So why it is short duration? Because these are some activities. When we perform these activities, what we will do? We will enhance our speed and we will complete the particular action in the quickest possible time. Getting my point? What I am saying? We will complete the thing in a quickest possible time. Next point is it is also called a muscular endurance. What is it exactly called? It is also called the muscular endurance, because at that time, see, the energy stored in the muscle in the form of glycogen. Got it? I already told you in the second chapter that in the second part of this chapter only, we consume carbohydrate, and this carbohydrate, extra amount of carbohydrate deposited in our muscles in the form of glycogen. So it is also called a muscular endurance, because while performing this activity, this glycogen is used to produce energy, to give energy to our body. It produces a lot of fatigue and tiredness. So when we perform this Short-term endurance for the very quick speed, it will produce a lot of fatigue, it will produce a lot of tiredness. The games which belong to this type is table tennis, badminton, handball, basketball, volleyball, middle distance running, swimming, etc. Right, dear students? So what we need to understand, short-term endurance is a component of endurance which helps to perform activity in a slow shorter duration with faster speed. It is anaerobic endurance, means absence of oxygen. It is muscular endurance. So muscular endurance means muscles will lose in that time, the glycogen is stored in that, and it is produce a lot of fatigue and tiredness. The name of the games are table tennis, basketball, football, football you can play, distance run, swimming, etc. Right? Now let's come on the second type, that is type B, long-term endurance. What is long-term endurance? The endurance helps when our activity for a longer duration. So whenever we perform an activity for a longer duration, that is called the long-term endurance. So this activity we perform with longer duration and the speed is low. The speed is low, right? So whenever we perform the long-term endurance, the speed is low and the time, the duration is longer. So in this intensity or speed of workout is slow. This point you need to keep in mind. The intensity or the speed of workout is slow. It is in fact a combination of circulatory system and respiratory system. Now let's see how it is a combination of circulatory system and how it is the combination of respiratory system. So when I am talking about this circulatory system, it means the transportation of blood, it is the transportation of different components in the blood and diffusion of blood into the diffusion of oxygen into blood, right? So what I just want to tell you guys, that this long-term endurance helps when the activity is for longer duration, when the activity is for the intensity of the work is very slow. In fact, this is the kind of endurance in which the combination of circulatory system and respiratory system both are there. Now see what is circulatory system. The circulatory system is the transportation of blood from the different part, the pumping of blood by the heart, etc. Right? Respiratory system. Now what about this respiratory system? So respiratory system is lungs. We consume oxygen. Right? We consume the oxygen and the oxygen goes to the lungs. Right? And now it's go in the lungs, and when it go into the lungs, it diffuses with the blood. Right? With the alveoli and all, it diffuses with the blood and it take carbon from the body and remove it. Right? So it is helps the both system, respiratory system and circulatory system, both are working there. It provides continuous energy. Because when we consume sleep, it's a slow consume oxygen. We do respiration and all everything there. So it provides continuous energy to our body during the workout. It is a type of aerobic activity, right? Aerobic. This is the most important topic that one should keep in mind while understanding long-term endurance. It is an aerobic kind of activity. Which kind of activity? Aerobic kind of activity with low speed. To delay fatigue, these is required for long duration activity, that is a long distance races, cycling, cross country, marathon, etc. These are some the important kinds of long term endurance example. Getting my point what I am saying? So I was just more concerning about the long term endurance. So what we understood now, we understood that the long-term endurance is for long time, the speed or the intensity is low. In fact, it is a combination of circulatory system and respiratory system. It provides continuous energy to the body during the workout. As it is an anaerobic activity, it's not anaerobic, it is aerobic. See on the blackboard I marked, it is an aerobic kind of activity and it is performed in a slow pace. It delays fatigue. That is why it is required for long distance races, cycling, cross country, cross state, marathons, football, etc. So understood the concept of short term endurance and long-term endurance. Now what we're going to learn today, now we're going to learn about one of the training method of developing endurance. So let us suppose this is the, I am making a path, okay? I am making a mountain, then there is a forest, then there is a riverbed, it's a river, it's a muddy land, and again it's a mountain, right? So now what we need to understand, see, this is the man, this is the man, and he, let's suppose it is his home in the city, and from here he come by running. He started running and he come. Then now there is two ways to go. One is the shortcut. Second one is the mountain run. Mountain run or climb. So the people may go here, the people may come here. So let's say this boy goes from here, okay, he climbed the mountain. See, we are working for endurance, right? So we come here and then down. Now it's a forest region. Now it's a forest region, shady, bushy area, a lot of oxygen is there, right? So he started from there. Now see, there is a road. Okay, it's a road. So he started jogging. Right? After jogging, there is a muddy land. What is it? Muddy land. It means it is totally a natural environment, right? Natural environment. Right? So he is in a muddy land. There is a lot of stones are there, slippery places is there. Right? Now there is a river bed. Now he is river bed. River bed. So he somehow he swim or somehow there is a water till the knees. So he moved from there. Now there is sand. In this region, there is sand. So if there is sand, it will be little bit difficult for him to run in sand. It also builds some endurance. Now again he will run very fast, normal place, muddy land, and he completed it. So understand the concept of this fartlek. What is this fartlek? Fartlek is a Swedish term. What is it? It is a Swedish term. It has come from Sweden. And what is the meaning of fartlek? The meaning of fartlek is speed play. Speed play. So I hope you understand the concept of fartlek, the concept of this long-term and short-term endurance. Now let's come. We are going to recapitulate what we had studied. So we had started with the short-term endurance, long-term endurance. What is the short-term endurance? The short-term endurance is the component of endurance which helps to perform activity for short duration with faster speed. It is aerobic, anaerobic respiration. It is anaerobic endurance because there is an absence of oxygen. It is the intensity of workout here or the speed is very fast. These endurances for short duration. It is a muscular endurance. In these, energy is gained or energy is got from the muscles as the excess amount of carbohydrate, that is glycogen, is stored in the muscles, right? It produces a lot of fatigue and tiredness because that's why it's related to tennis, badminton, basketball, medium distance races, volleyball, etc. When you talk about long distance races, these are for the pace is very slow and the distance is long. Duration is long because the pace is slow. The intensity or the speed of workout is very slow. We need to keep this thing in mind. It is in fact a combination of circulatory system and respiratory system. Diffusion of oxygen into the blood and removal of the carbon dioxide. Production of energy also, which provide continuous energy to the body when the body is doing workout, right? Next thing, very important, it is an aerobic kind of activity, right? Delay fatigue, so that's why it is required for long distance, cycling, cross country, marathon, etc. The concept of fartlek is a training method to improving this endurance. Let's suppose a person started from here, goes to the mountain, then there are different forest regions, then he jogging. So what he did exactly in this whole situation, he do speed play. Sometimes the speed was slow, sometimes the speed was fast, sometimes it was climbing, walking, sometimes it was jumping, sometimes it was running, sometimes it was swimming, sometimes it was on the riverbed, sometimes it was on the sand, sometimes on the road. So it is all about the speed play. Fart play is the swimming play. So I hope you understand the concept. With this, I would like to thank you. Thank you so much. Go through the videos and learn the content strong.